Hello and welcome to Before You Bet, brought to you by Covers.com, a special Monday show as we get you ready for the NCAA Tournament National Title Game. I'm not Joe Osborne, if you haven't figured that out right now. I'm Jason Logan, Cover Senior Industry Analyst, stepping in for Mr. Osborne, who's away on assignment, which sounds super cool. We have a great lineup for you today. Get you ready for Purdue versus Uconn. Arash Madani from Sportsnet, who's in Arizona covering the Final Four weekend. He's going to join us. He's going to talk about this matchup. He's going to break it down with his insights, and maybe we'll be able to squeeze a couple bets out of him as well, too. Also coming on to talk tonight's game, two of Cover's top college hoop analysts. We got Rohit Ponnaiya and Doug Farmer. Both of these guys engulfed in flames with how well they're doing during March Madness right now. Both these guys are up big, so if you don't follow them, make sure you do. We're going to get their best bets for tonight's game as well. And if I got anything left in the tank, I might sprinkle in some of my bets as well, too. So before we get going, a reminder, please like and subscribe here to the Covers YouTube channel. We appreciate that. We don't want you guys to miss anything. And then let us know what you're betting in tonight's live chat. What do you like? If we don't like our bets, let us know why. So we'd like to hear from you in the live chat as well, too, during the show. So let's not wait on it. All the small print is out of the way. We're going to go to the deserts of Arizona. And we find our good buddy, Arash Madani, who's in Glendale covering Final Four for Sportsnet. Arash, thanks for coming on, pal.
J-Lo, how we doing, man?
I'm doing all right. We'll see. It's been a long road to get to this game. Not a big surprise that we have Uconn and Purdue, but I'm happy that it's this big heavyweight fight that we want. So before we dig into the game, the last time you were in Arizona and I was in Arizona was Super Bowl 57, and I was blown away at the time because the footprint was huge for sports betting. It was everywhere. The ads were everywhere on Media Row, sports betting everywhere. Given this is the NCAA, and then we have this kind of dark cloud over player props because of people harassing these college kids. I'm curious, what is sports betting's footprint here at the Final Four in Arizona?
Zero, non-existent. It feels like we're back in 2015. It's really interesting because, you think about the major sporting events on the American calendar every year. Mm-hmm. And among them, obviously, Super Bowl and Final Four are at the top of the list. And we're a couple of months removed from the Super Bowl being in Vegas, where it had an even bigger footprint, obviously, than it did last year here in Arizona. But there are no sportsbook partners. There's very little gambling talk around. When you go into the stadium, because it's neutral site, they now sell beer here, but there's no alcohol sponsor either. It is a very sanitized version, even though we all know what the underbelly is. So I just wonder how long it will take before that happens. And the moment it does, this is where the slippery slope is too, J-Lo. Mm-hmm. In an NIL world, if the NCAA is cashing in on it, can the student athlete?
Yeah, I think, and a lot of those discussions are happening here north of the border in Canada as well, too. We're seeing the hockey players and stuff being involved with sports books and sure. the integrity being questioned if those partnerships should be allowed. Sports betting still very much at its infancy, so I think we're going to see mistakes made. We're going to see it grow.
Legalized.
Yeah, legalized. Yes, legalized sports betting. We've been at it for a little while. So
yes, we have.
Yeah. So let's get into the matchup here. You got Zach Edey. He just won his second straight Naismith Award. What is UConn's? And you've been at the practices. You know these teams. You've been talking to the players and coaches. What is UConn's best plan of attack for slowing down Purdue's big guy in the middle?
I think the way they have to start is just man up with Klingham. I mean, you're talking about one of the best big men in the country going up against one of the best big men in the country. 7'4" versus 7'2", an accomplished, you mentioned two-time National Player of the Year. Maybe the second best big man in the country, who's got great feet, who's athletic. I mean, and he's a little bigger than anybody Zach has gone up against from a big man standpoint. I know Burns was like a load, but from 7 foot taller. Yeah. Edey's used to going up against big men now. Like, let's remember that. There's a bunch of them in the Big Ten. He's dealt with that throughout this tournament. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested a couple of things. One, if they can just straight up handle them, how much variety and how many different looks on doubles they're going to give them, especially because Connecticut is so dynamic and athletic and closing down passing lanes on the kick out.
Mhm.
So I think they're going to have a few different ones, but out of the gate, I think it's mano a mano.
Yeah, and I didn't hate the way that NC State approached him last game. He was just much bigger. Like their tallest guy ran 6'9",
And better.
6'10". Yeah, and he was just able to hit that hook consistently over the top and over the top. A much more equal, I guess, in terms of size matchup in this one. Let's look at the Huskies. And like you said, this is the dynamic team, and they can hurt you from all over. It makes them a very tough team to tackle. They're super, super adaptable. What does Painter and the Boilermakers need to do to keep this closer than this 6.5, now as high as 7.5 point spread?
I was thinking about that yesterday watching the women's final, and I'm like, man, there's so many parallels between Connecticut and South Carolina.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of the depth the Huskies have, the championship pedigree the Huskies have, how many different players in different ways can beat you. It's funny, Purdue's campus is in West Lafayette, Indiana, and I'm not comparing them to Hoosiers, but they almost have to turn this into an old school Indiana type game. Take the air out of the basketball, make sure that you pass the ball 3 or 4 times. Don't even think about taking a shot until there's under 8 seconds on the shot clock. Because, J-Lo, if this turns into a track meet, Purdue loses. Connecticut's got thoroughbreds. Connecticut's got sprinters. Connecticut's got they're so deep and they're so good in so many different ways. Purdue, for Purdue to win this game, it's got to be ugly and it's got to be low scoring, which isn't aesthetically pleasing, but hey, if you're the Boilers, who cares?
Matt Painter's going to call the picket fence and get Ollie out there to hit some foul shots.
Don't get caught watching the paint dry.
Yeah. And you mentioned the matchups here and what they need to do offensively. Let's look at defense. Definitely the calling card for both of these teams. If you look at their tournament resume, out of the 10 games these teams have played combined, only one has gone over the total. The over-under here, 45 points, 45.5 points is pretty low. What do you expect from the pace of this game? And you may have kind of hinted towards it. And any leanings towards the over or the under already?
I mean, I guess you just have to go under. I think you have to. The problem becomes late in the game if it's within striking distance, free throw stuff, right? I think the first half under is a really appetizing play because I really believe, and look, it's 2 seasoned teams, a veteran Purdue team, a championship Connecticut team. But you look at a guy like Braden Smith, man, scoring. Zach the other day on Friday called him the best point guard he's ever played with. He put up 3 points. He was dreadful. I don't want to say nerves early on, but I do there's no familiarity between both of these teams, and it's one thing to scout them on 36 hours notice.
Yeah.
And plan for them on 36 hours notice, but it's an absolutely different thing to face them. So I do think there's going to be a bit of a feeling out process, and the byproduct of that might be, and just to see how, okay, I'm Zach, how are they handling me right now? That split extra second, I think that all kind of weighs into the whole equation too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that. Like you said, I think Uconn, their best chance may be to push pace, push tempo, and try to get back down the floor before Purdue can set up that half-court defense. We've seen them run a lot of zone, and zone generally you want to put those teams on their heels and not let them get set in that zone defense. So whoever can impose their will is, I guess, who we're going to see in this one play out.
Which is why Purdue needs to slow it down.
Yeah. All right. So before we let you go, got to give us 2 bets for tonight, whatever it may be, side total, player props, derivatives, whatever you like.
I really like the first half under, as I just mentioned, and it's just so hard to not lean Connecticut. I know it's a bunch of points, but the Huskies have been the best team in college basketball this year. You think about the 3 best teams coming into this tournament. It was Connecticut, it was Purdue, and it was Houston. And if Shed doesn't get hurt, who knows what happens with Houston in their Sweet 16 Elite 8 game, whatever that was.
Yeah, it was Elite 8.
So, when you think about how many different ways Connecticut can win, when you think about guard play, that's it. I haven't seen a Lance Jones prop. Now, I think if there's an X factor in this, I thought it was going to be the same thing against North Carolina State. There are going to be points in the game where the Huskies will have to double Edey. And when they kick it out, Lance Jones is money. He's ice water. He's calm. He's all those things. I think he had 4 threes against the Wolfpack. To me, if there is a prop out there, and I can't really access much down here in Arizona, that's the one that would catch my eye.
Yeah, his 3-point total is at 1.5. But you're laying a little lumber here. It's like -170. I might have even seen it like -180, -190 this morning. So it is a pricey one, but definitely someone who can fill it up from outside. And I think he's hit 2 or more threes in 4 of the 5 tournament games so far. So I may have a little sprinkle in an SGP with some Lance Jones 3-pointers made. So
I had a Connecticut future that I was a coward and cashed it in before coming down here.
Oh, you had to get some fun money for, I guess, hitting Arizona, right?
Yeah, so I'm gun shy because my last 2 futures, they lost them a lot. I had the Baltimore Ravens win the AFC. I got like week 4 or something. So learned my lesson, J-Lo, and now I'm going to watch Connecticut cut down the nets. I'll be like, damn it.
All right, at least some of that's in your pocket, though. But Arash, thanks so much for taking some time. I know you're really busy. We appreciate the insight. Enjoy the game tonight. Safe travels. And good luck.
I appreciate it, man. Good to see you.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right, that's Arash Madani from Sportsnet down there covering the Final Four. Great insights. We're going to bring on, I'm going to say, the Covers man on fire right now. This guy may not need any introduction if you've been following him during the NCAA tournament. He's coming off a massive Saturday for the Final Four games. This is his record so far with the picks that he's been putting out here on the show. Out on Covers, 28-16 for the Big Dance. He's up 10.5 units for March Madness, April Madness, whatever you want to carry. Is Rohit Ponnaiya. All right, Rohit. Everyone's waiting with bated breath, brother, man. What's the best bets here for the national title game?
You know, I'm kind of looking at it from that same angle as Arash. I like Uconn to win here. Couple reasons. I think they just mash up really well against Purdue. Of course, you got Zach Edey there, and he's going up against a guy in Klingon who might be the best interior defender, at least projecting to the next level. But in terms of the backcourt, UConn's backcourt, they're long, they're physical, and I think athletically, they're going to be able to really limit what the Purdue guards do. And on the other side of the floor, Purdue really struggles at defending off-ball screens. They struggle at defending cutters, and UConn is top 10 in efficiency at both of those plays, according to Shot Quality Bets, and they run those plays at a really high frequency as well. So you have a couple areas there where I think there's definitely a mismatch for UConn, but at the same time, I think this might be just a few too many points. You're just looking at, over the course of the entire season, the analytics, and I know analytics can sometimes be a little bit skewed if there's like a smaller sample size or changes in a lineup, something like that. But both these teams have been so consistent over this whole season, pretty much the exact same lineup, larger sample size. So the analytics should really be somewhat accurate at this stage in the game. And we have KenPom and Bart Torvik projecting a much closer score. KenPom's projecting a 3-point win for the Huskies. Bart Torvik's projecting a 2-point win. So in theory, at least, we should be getting a closer game than what the line is right now. We've also seen Purdue play against some really tough opponents throughout the year, even during the non-conference part of their schedule, and they played really well. 10-0 straight up, 8-1-1 ATS against ranked teams this season. So while I don't think they're going to win this game, I think they're going to be able to keep it kind of close. I think one of the interesting props to play there is the winning margin bets. So I actually have 2 of them on the go. I'm back in UConn to win with a winning margin between 1 and 5. That's plus 400 at Bet365. I also have UConn winning with a margin of 6 and 10, and that's plus 350. So as long as UConn wins, but they don't win by more than 10 points, we're walking away with some money there.
Anything but a blowout, right?
Exactly.
Anything but a blowout. All right, I can't let you have all the fun. I'm gonna squeeze in some bets here, and hopefully I don't cool you off. But I've had an okay tournament so far as well too. I'm up. Player props have been good for me. That's where I'm gonna stick to that right now before the NCAA takes them away. So my first one, Mickey McCullough, right? Yeah, we're going with Tristan Newton over 5.5 assists for the UConn point guard. Player projections for Newton, calling for 6.4 helpers over 32 minutes of play. Could be playing a lot more than that as well, too. This is going to be the tightest game that UConn has seen in a while here. It was over 5.5 minus 115. That's where I got it. It is pricier at some places. There's 5.5 still out there, like minus 140 range, but some books are going to 6.5. So you definitely want to get that lower number and go over based on those projections. And UConn's best offense, it comes when they're moving. It comes when guys are cutting. It comes when guys are moving off of screens. And Newton is the facilitator with the basketball in those instances. We look at the way Purdue matches up. They're not a great team at slowing down teams at cutting. They're not a great team at slowing down teams coming off of screens in terms of their points allowed per play. They give up a lot of assists as well, too. So I like this one to go over. And he's had 6+ assists in a lot of games already recently. So Tristan Newton, while his scoring maybe, I like him to keep this offense flowing with his passing. Ro, what else you got for us? I'm anxious to hear.
Yeah, I got another player prop here. Zach Edey, of course, the man of the hour, 2-time National Player of the Year. First time we've seen that since Ralph Sampson. So, I mean, I've never seen that. That was before I was born. But this guy's one of the best college centers all time, probably. And he's been on fire. It's kind of a weird number to see because it is a pretty high number when you're taking into account how good UConn's defense is, how good Klingon is, the slow pace of this game. But at the same time, I do like the over here. Definitely something to shop around for because most books have this at 24.5. FanDuel has it at 23.5 right now. I'd say take every point you can get if you like this bet because we've seen so many projections this season land right between those numbers when those lines are moving around. You look at Edey, and he scored at least 25 points in 10 of his last 12 games. He's averaging almost 29 points per game during that span. He's also seen a significant uptick in his playing time. I mean, he hasn't been coming off the court. He's missed just 3 minutes over the last 3 games, played all 40 minutes against NC State. You get those lengthy TV timeouts in these games. Both these teams play at a slower pace. So he should be able to stay on the floor and not get gassed so long as he doesn't get into foul trouble. I also think UConn's had their share of getting into foul trouble as well. We saw that in conference play. They were second last to the Big East in opponent free throw rate. So if Edey can get to the free throw, Ryan, I think he's going to have a really high usage rate in this one because I think UConn's defense is going to be able to really limit what those Purdue guards do, and that's going to mean a lot more shots for Edey. He's not going to have his usual efficiency, but I think he goes over this points total.
Yeah, and he's going to touch the ball on every time down the floor. Whether it's I thought last game he did a really good job of getting position. They kicked it in.
Yeah,
he wouldn't get what he got. Kicked it back out, repositioned, got a little deeper, and then he was able to go over the top. So nice, patient offense for him, but definitely all going to run through him. I like that one. All right, I'll give you one more for me as well too. We're going to stick with Utah here. UConn, sorry. Go Cam Spencer over 13.5 points again. I got this one minus 118 earlier in the week. It has gone up, so you want to sharp around as Rohit mentioned. There's a lot of places out here with discrepancies in the player props, and some places have 14.5 points on Spencer right now. So go and find those better numbers. But he's shooting extremely well in the tournament, 47% from the floor, 43 from the three-point arc. The paint is going to be packed tonight with all those big bodies. That means Spencer's going to get some kickouts. He's going to get some clean looks from outside. And the player projections calling for about 15 points over 36 minutes from him as well, too. And if he knocks down a couple quick triples, this stretches this defense. I definitely think he can get over the 13.5. So Rohit, put a bow on it, buddy. Let's get one more best bet from you because you have been outstanding and excellent during the entire season, through the conference tournaments, and here throughout March Madness. So give us one more.
One more. I'm going with another UConn player prop here. I'm liking Donovan Klingon, looking at that center battle again, over 7.5 rebounds. Another one where you kind of want to shop around. You're seeing that as high as minus 145, but you can still get it at minus 122, another FanDuel one. Klingon's averaging about 7.4 rebounds per game this season, but that's in just over 22 minutes per game. This is a guy that he doesn't get a whole lot of playing time in blowout wins. He doesn't see much of the floor either when opponents are running with those smaller lineups, but he's going to be seeing plenty of playing time in this one, especially with Edey on the floor. I think he's going to be matching up against Edey an awful lot. I expect to see somewhere around 30 minutes in this game, and that should mean a lot of rebounds for him. He's had at least 8 rebounds in 5 of his last 6 games. Didn't get a ton of boards in that last game against Alabama, but they were a team that shoots a lot from the outside, so you see those kind of longer rebounds in those situations. I think there's going to be a lot more half-court sets in this one, a lot of rebounding opportunities for him, and I think we're going to get a great little center battle here.
Yeah, it should be the heavyweight fight in the middle of the paint there. They're going to be scratching and clawing for every stat they can get. That's awesome, bro. Like I said, fantastic job entire tournament. I've been following, I hope everyone else has. You can follow Rohit at @covers_row. That's correct.
Yes, it is.
On X, Twitter, whatever you like to call it. Ro, good luck tonight. Enjoy the game, buddy. And then enjoy some much needed time off and well-deserved time off coming
after
up.
UFC 300. That's when
that's right. That's right. You get the cage fighting coming up. So you're a busy guy. All right, Ro. Good luck, buddy. Thank you.
Best of luck, JLo.
All right. Like I said, special show here on Monday. Just a reminder before we get to our final guest, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow along. If you got any bets for tonight, throw them in the live chat. We'd like to hear that. And let's go one more. We're going to close out the Monday edition before you bet a guy that is killing it on all courts. We're talking men's NCAA. We're talking the women's tournament. We're talking NBA hoops. Doug Farmer, welcome to the show. What do you like here for Purdue and Uconn tonight?
I've liked a lot of what I've heard tonight, and I think there's a version of this show, a version of tonight's game where every single bet, we haven't had anything conflicting. I'm going to really toe the line. My first bet here is really going to thread a needle with Roe, but right. I think this spread has climbed too high. I'm seeing 7.5s on the board, and I'm going to take Purdue at 7.5. It's just gotten too high. I know UConn has covered every NCAA tournament game the last 2 years. I know they're killing it, but this is too much, especially with the total falling. This total opened at 148.5. All the money, the bets are on the over, yet it falls to 145.5. Everybody's expecting a lower scoring game, but the spread keeps climbing. To me, those two things cannot both be true. So I'm going to take the 7.5. And then you add in Purdue's free throw rates. Purdue doesn't foul. It's the 4th lowest foul rate in the country, and it draws fouls at a great rate, the 13th highest rate. That's going to raise its floor in this game. There's not going to be a 30-0 run. There's not going to be anything like that. Purdue's going to stay in contact. I think pushing 3 threes, pushing 4 buckets is too high of a spread for this contest.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the game models and those prediction models and stuff like that were calling for a closer contest than what the point spread was saying. So
Ken Pom's got it at 3, and I realize that's not properly weighting what UConn's been doing lately, and that deserves all the credit.
Look a headline before the Final Four matchups: 5.5.
Right. This is, and that's where I'm glad to shop around. There's more 7s available on the board than 7.5s, but if you can find that 7.5, absolutely pay the 115 to get it. That's worth it.
At this point in the tournament too, there's so much data and sportsbooks are so locked in on these teams that there is zero wiggle room in when it comes to those numbers and projections. And I had 85.5 on the team total the other night. It hit 86.
And I believe you had the under, so you were quite.
No, I had the over. I had the over 85.5 for Connecticut's. Yeah. And they scored 86. Most places at 86.5. So when Doug says shop around, you listen and shop around.
So I'm hoping Roe, his best payout was that 1 to 5, and UConn by 1 to 5 would cash those futures we discussed earlier, would cash for Roe, and would cash my Purdue 7.5. We can really all come home happy.
I feel like it's going to be really, really good or really, really bad considering that.
Well, you and I have one more like that. My other play tonight coincides with one of yours that if one of us is right, we're both looking right. I like your Tristan Newton assist play. I'm taking the other side of under him on 14.5 points. There's 15.5s out there. I'm getting a little better value at the 14.5. He's gone under this number in 5 of his 8 postseason games. He needs free throws. Purdue, like I said, 4th lowest foul rate in the country. They're not going to put him to the line. And at that point, he's going to look to spread the ball around. If he's not drawing fouls, the ball is in his hands longer, he's going to hand out the assist. He's not going to shoot that often. He's only 4 of 17 in his last 2 tournament games, but he handed out 14 assists in those 2 games. So this is where I'm riding with you, J-Lo, but in a bit of a different way at plus money. That plus 112 is why I took this route. He's gone under at 5 of 8 games in the postseason. This is how he prefers to play when it matters most. He's going to move the ball around. I don't think he'll put up a triple-double, but that would not shock me. And that's the kind of game he can have.
He hasn't shot the ball especially well to the last few games either. He hasn't been making some of those shots.
4 of 17 in the last 2, and I believe, if my memory is correct, I'm confirming he's 3 of 12 from 3 against Alabama and Illinois. Purdue's got a better defense. Purdue is going to make that life difficult. He's going to move the ball more than he shoots the ball.
And a much slower game script against Purdue than we saw against an Illinois team that wants to play a little bit of pace, and then an Alabama team that's Red Bull and everything.
The only over I've heard that I kind of like, and I did my player props article, is Rose, Zach Edey over 23.5. Otherwise, this total is falling, but everybody's betting overs on players. All the bet tickets are on overs. Like that, again, these two things can't both be true. The total can't fall and all these players score points. So I'm looking at unders, and that's where I'm hitting there.
All right. That is Doug Farmer. It's at D_Farmer. Is that correct?
Nailed it.
On X. Doug, another fantastic job. If you didn't follow him yesterday for the Caitlin Clark props and all the bets on the women's championship game, and I think you swept the board. I think you were like 6-0 or something like that on what you put forward.
I think yesterday ended up being 6-0 with the Timberwolves coming home over the Lakers. You hate to see LeBron not even show up.
Oh, and we're the live chat is asking for another first basket prop for the Natty championship game.
John, I'm not looking at any odds. I'm not looking at any odds. My instinct is going to be you're going to get better value on a Uconn player because Zach Edey probably, I assume Zach Edey wins most tips. If there's ever a tip he's going to lose, it's against Donovan Clingan. So then I would very quickly just let me check one stat. I would go Clingan. Honestly, you could see them trying to bang down on Edey right out of the gate. I'm betting. I'm not looking at odds. You can probably get Clingan north of 5-1, 6-1.
First basket props. If someone in the chat can throw it up, I don't have it sitting right in front of me.
Yeah, that's Mettler really he really put me on the spot there. That is my instinct. That is where I would look, and it's partly a value play. The books are going to price it like Edey will win the tip, but if there's ever a game where he's not going to win the tip, it's this game.
That's a great handicap. That's something that you would not consider. Most people would overlook who wins.
So you're going to get a little bit of value on a Uconn player, and I think and even if it's not a play set up for Clingan right away, he's got a chance at the board. He's got a chance at the putback. This is you know what, John? I don't know what the number is going to be, but I will get some money down on that myself tonight. I always will put my money where my mouth is.
That's what I'm going to do once we get off the air here. I'm going to run and go make that bet. Hopefully, you guys won't move the lines too much on me. All right, Doug, man. Thanks so much. Incredible job all season, all tournament coming in here. Appreciate your time. Good luck and enjoy the game tonight.
Let's have a good one.
All right. That is it. That's it for the Monday Before You Bet. Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you, Joe, for trusting me to sub in here. Big thanks to Arash and Rohit and Doug for talking NCAA championship bets. A big thank you to producer Mick behind the scenes, managing all of us and keeping things flowing. And a big thanks to everyone who tuned in today or is watching the replay. Good luck. We hope you enjoy the game. A quick reminder, too, hit the subscribe, hit the like, leave some comments. We want to hear what you're betting. We want to hear what you're winning as well, too. If there's something that you liked on the show this past week that was a winner, let us know. So that's a big thing. So I'm Jason Logan. Good luck tonight. Enjoy the national title game.